What's up, y'all? It's Vitamin M here, coming at you with another bourbon review. And today I found this guy who had just released not too long ago, just a few weeks ago. This is Wild Turkey, Jimmy Russell's 70th anniversary here. Now, this is a commemorative bottle of kind of an elevated Wild Turkey 101 for Jimmy Russell's 70th anniversary with the Wild Turkey Company. Now, who exactly is Jimmy Russell? Jimmy Russell is the longest tenured master distiller of any distillery, I think, definitely in America, but I think in the world. And he's been with Wild Turkey, obviously, for 70 years, since he was like 14 or 18 or so, and eventually rose up the ranks and became the master distiller in probably like, I want to say the late 50s or 60s, somewhere around that time frame. But he's still the master distiller today. And this bottle commemorates his services to Wild Turkey. Now, they've had previous 50-year, 60th year anniversary releases before. The 60th anniversary one, just doing some quick reading, was a dud. It was closer to like 125, 150 MSRP, and was only aged for like 13 to 16 years with that juice in there, but it was only like 91 proof or so. This one's a little different. This one is 101 proof, like Wild Turkey 101, but it's aged 8 years, as it says here, and it has a blend with 8 and 9 year juices in here. So apparently from the reviews online, this one's supposed to be a lot better, but I'm interested to try it. My best friend kind of talked me into it a little bit, but I wanted to try this one anyways. But that's most of Jimmy Russell's story here, and he's the guy that he introduced Russell's Reserve, wild spirits, even the rare breed versions of Wild Turkey. So that's really cool, and I'm a big Russell's fan. I showed off Russell's 10 in one of my previous videos of the 5 bourbons you should have in your collection. But interestingly enough, and I found this, apparently he's the guy that introduced the first bourbon liqueur, so American Honey, the Wild Turkey brand with that. American Honey, so the honey bourbon, which is kind of interesting. I guess he's the first one. I don't know. Of course, why wouldn't they claim that? So I can't say that for sure, but that might be the case. Who knows? He's a really respected guy in the industry, so do your homework on that. I'm taking that with a little bit of a grain of salt, but that's a cool story though. So Wild Turkey in and of itself, for a little bit of a history lesson, because I've covered Jimmy Russell here. Wild Turkey actually started under Thomas Rippey, who started as the Old Hickory Distillery in like 1891 or something like that. It was the site of another older distillery there over in Tyrone, Kentucky. I don't know exactly where that is, but that's cool. So he died in 1902, and then Prohibition rolls around. They start distilling again after that, and they sell portions of the distillery to different wholesalers. And one of those wholesalers was Austin Nichols, I believe. So on a lot of older Wild Turkey bottles, you'll see like Austin Nichols Wild Turkey. I saw it on a couple on the bottle shop in Louisville, Kentucky, which has all these really old bottles that you can buy, dusties, as us collectors in the industry like to call them. But that's pretty cool. But this becomes Wild Turkey after Austin Nichols buys that portion of it. And one of their executives, Thomas McCarthy, would go on an annual Wild Turkey trip with a lot of the other executives or some of his friends. I think it was somewhere in North Carolina. I might be confusing that with like somebody else or something else related to like the Grove Park Inn or something. It was Kentucky or North Carolina. They would go on this trip, and he would bring his own bourbon that he would distill. So they would all drink it around the campfire on their hunting trip and stuff. And then everyone would go home, and then they would ask him constantly, hey, can you give me some of, quote, that Wild Turkey, end quote, bourbon, which that's where the name came from. And they started bottling and distilling Wild Turkey as we know it today in 1942. And Jimmy Russell joins the company in 1954. Now, I believe his son, Eddie Russell, is part of the company as well. The Russell family has a big legacy when it comes to Wild Turkey, so that's pretty cool. But now they're held by Campari, which also owns Sky Vodka and a bunch of other different brands. So they're part of that conglomerate. But that's it for our history lesson today. Pretty short. I want to get to tasting here. I know these videos have been kind of long, but I've been wanting to go over some really nice bourbons and give you all the scoop and kind of the insider info to understand where these guys come from, their history, because it's very easy to say that all bourbon tastes the same. You know, there's nothing that unique about it, but all these guys, as I've told you before, he who tells the best story sells the most bottles, and that's part of the gimmick. That's part of the marketing. It's nice knowing the story of these guys and what makes all of these different brands unique, and gives you a window into how they approach distilling and what kind of flavors and characteristics they want to capture given their history. So without further ado, let's go ahead and crack this guy open. So I stumbled into Total Wine today, and the employee was actually pretty helpful. I asked him, do you have this, this, and this? Or do you have something special in the back? And he's like, actually, we do have the Wild Turkey 70. So that was pretty cool right there. Grab the plastic off. So I grabbed this guy. Don't need that. Hey, get back over there. All right, so we'll pop this guy. Nice package presentation. So, oh, that was kind of a crappy cork. Not much of a pop there. Maybe that's on me, but not a lot going on there. So apparently I've heard that this is somewhere in between an Eagle Rare and a Wild Turkey 12, like the purple label, the purple box. Tends to be a Japanese import. What am I doing? Put this back over here so y'all can look at this. I mean, it's a beautiful bottle. It's same as Wild Turkey 101, but they do the commemorative stuff for Jimmy Russell, so that's pretty cool. But that's what I've heard. I've heard it's in between that. It's better than Eagle Rare, so we'll see. I haven't reviewed that one yet. I have been wanting to do a video on Wild Turkey 12 because that one is incredible. That one is absolutely amazing. But let's go ahead and get started with this one. So we'll start with the color. And that's pretty nice right there. Give you all a view right there. Pretty solid caramel color. Pretty normal, nothing extremely exciting. Neither does it have to be. You know, you kind of get that color as a base for all bourbons. So, but it's pretty. It's pretty. I've always got to admire it. So let's take a whiff on the nose here. Ooh, it's like really earthy. Caramels, brown sugars, a lot of baking spices on there. That is, ooh, that's pungent or poignant or whatever. It's punchy, kind of like a rye a little bit. Definitely very earthy. Ooh, that smell is good though. That's up front. A little bit of fruit, like a little bit of like raspberry and stuff. There's like a herbal kind of earthy note to it a little bit. So that's different. A little bit of chocolate and cocoa as well in there. So a lot going on. Some kind of very upfront, mostly dominated by those basic, not basic, but very common things. Caramel, baking spices. Brown sugar is in kind of half of everything, but I'm a sucker for that note. So I'm always gonna, I'm never gonna turn something down that's got some good brown sugar in it. But that's a good whiff right there. That is, ooh, that's up front and center. That hits you good. That's nice. So we'll take a sip of this guy and we drink today because tomorrow we die. Oh, wow. Wow, that's super creamy. I didn't expect that up front. That's pretty good. It's almost like ice cream, vanilla kind of creaminess a little bit to it. Like that kind of half and half milk kind of thing. Caramel and everything. On the back, it's kind of herbal. I pick up that tea note. I read a couple things about this and I've never heard of black tea in here, so I didn't know if I was going to taste it. Maybe that's my mind playing tricks or something, but I do pick up that kind of tea note at the end, kind of something herbal there. That's got a little bit of a kick, so that's good, like on the back of the throat going down. Ooh, that's just really creamy going up front. Some good fruit. It's like a red fruit, stone fruit kind of raspberry taste to it, so that's pretty nice. It's just such good sweet consistency on the front of your tongue, front of your mouth. That's great viscosity right there. I mean, that's definitely really nice. It's almost smoother than Eagle Rare, which Eagle Rare kind of tastes a little rough sometimes to me. I think maybe just because of the really strong grape note that's on it with everything. But wow, this is actually really good. Not as pronounced, or I guess as well finished as the 12, but it's a little bit of a step below it, which is kind of, what I heard it was supposed to be. And that's not to knock it at all whatsoever. It's a great syrup, creamy viscosity up front. I don't think I've had something that creamy since like the Maker's Mark Ice Cream Social Private Select. And that's really good. Lots of brown sugar, like kind of caramelish a bit. You don't get as much as that punchiness or the allspices, which is fine. It's cool. That's fine. That's on the nose and on the nose only. But you get that good fruit. It's just, man, that's just so creamy and just really smooth, just going down like that. That's really good. I like this quite a bit. Is it as good as Eagle Rare? Yeah. Is it better? Honestly, it depends on the mood I'm in that night. So some nights I might want something that's something like this, kind of a good creamy viscosity to it. Other nights I might want something that's more fruit forward, but might just be like kind of a little rougher. So the proof on this guy is higher, but ultimately that doesn't matter as much as if that kind of follows through on the viscosity, the texture, the notes you get on everything, on the taste. It's not as good as Wild Turkey 12, which was what I expected, but is it better than Eagle Rare? It depends. Really depends on the night I'm on. Is it as good? Yeah, I would say so for sure. Is this worth it? $50 and everything for MSRP? Yeah, I would say so for sure. It's definitely really good. I think it's better than Russell's 10. It's not as aged as Russell's 10, just by 1 or 2 years less. Better than a lot of Wild Turkey stuff that's out there. Maybe better than Rare Breed. I haven't had too much of that, so I can't say. But I think this is a fine bottle, and I think they're producing a lot more of this for this anniversary, the 70th anniversary versus the 60th anniversary for Jimmy Russell. So this one should be easier to find, but MSRP $50. That's hard to beat. I found it at Total Wine for a little less than that, like $49. So don't go too crazy on the price, but for what it is here, I think this is a fantastic bottle. You can't really go wrong with this. I mean, it's definitely unique, and I think the worst thing food or drink, period, besides bourbon in general, can be is remind you of something else you'd rather have. So everything here, I would say this is a solid 7 3/4 out of 10 or so. It's great. It's kind of on par with Eagle Rare, but it's very different with what it's trying to do, and I think this is a fine addition to your collection and a release to commemorate Jimmy Russell's time with the company. So with that being said, happy hunting, and I'll catch you all on the next episode. Cheers.